It's time now for This Is Life with Rob McGowan. How we live always changes the world around us.
Isn't it just? Isn't it amazing?
Oh, yeah.
We're so easily connected and at least see each other's faces, even if...
Yeah, it makes it more personable than just typing to everybody or sending letters all the time. And even in the old days doing radio shows where you didn't see the person, you just kind of got to talk to them. But it's kind of nice now you can talk to the people and then use the interviews that way. So it's great.
That's true.
So how are you anyway?
I'm very good. It's a great Wednesday. All going really well.
I like that accent. Where's that? Where's that from?
Brighton, England.
That's English. Oh, that's amazing. I have a fellow on last week. He was from Australia, and I don't know. I always mix the two up, but their accent seems to be, I don't know, just a little bit more bitter or choppier or something. There's something about it. It's a little different. Your guys seem to be a little lighter and just, I don't know, more pleasant.
Yeah. I like the Australian accent. I love all accents, but I do struggle with the Scottish and the Irish sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. It's hard to sometimes understand what they're saying.
Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
our community here is actually full of Irish. We have a huge Irish population. We had boats come in years ago to Miramichi, and we had them quarantined. We have an island there where there was a big plague, and all the people came from Ireland for the plague and brought it, and it's a big thing here. So,
oh my gosh.
yeah, we have a sort of a dual citizenship kind of thing here. We have a big Irish fest every year, and everybody from Ireland comes over, and it's a huge party, and it's a great big deal. So we have a lot of Irish here for sure.
Indeed, it sounds like it. Where exactly are you?
I'm in Miramichi, so it's in New Brunswick. It's a city in the upper side of New Brunswick, and
Okay.
yeah, New Brunswick is one of the smaller populated provinces in Canada. So we got, I think, I don't know what we have now, maybe 1,200,000 people in our whole province. It's not very big.
Okay.
In our city here itself, we only have about 60,000. So it's a small place, but it's great, and everybody seems to be flocking here. We didn't have COVID hardly at all, so it's one of the places in the world where I think we had total 25 cases or something. It was bizarre how small it was.
That's amazing. That's really, really good, isn't it? So
Yeah,
it's obviously some things to be said for what you're doing, because I do think that lifestyle, nutrition, and just general way of living, it contributes a lot to our level of immunity.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, keeping healthy, and
I'm big on that.
and which is surprising because we have an older population here too. Miramichi, it's changing all the time. We have a lot of people coming now from the Philippines and different places. We've been starting to sort of flood our market because we have all these jobs and nobody to work them. And now we have a flood of people coming from Ontario, selling their houses for huge amounts of money. And then because it's so much cheaper to live here, and then buying, the same property for a quarter of the price and then having lots of money in the bank. So it's turned out to be a benefit and a kind of a catastrophe at the same time, because there's a housing crisis like crazy. If you got a house and you're selling it, it's worth a lot now. If you're buying a house, things have gone way through the roof.
Diddly squat.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Okay.
But what can you do? So I was interested in your basically I talk to a lot of people that are helping people around the world, whether it's through programs like yours where you're motivational speaking and teaching them all kinds of stuff. What got you interested in helping people and doing stuff like that?
Well, my background is in training. I've always worked with people one-on-one or small groups. I used to be the in-company trainer. I've lived in Italy for the last 26 years. I moved here with a 7-month contract in 1995. Fell in love with Sicily, fell in love with a Sicilian all those years ago, and never went back.
Well, I can imagine. Yeah, it must be really hard to live in Italy.
Yeah.
I see some of the pictures you send sometimes. The pictures are amazing. It's like you're living the vacation every day.
Yeah, I am living the vacation. I'm living the fairy tale. It really is magical, especially where I live, where in a medieval town, and we've got a castle on the bottom of the hill, absolutely perfectly preserved medieval castle, and a castle at the top of the hill, and the city walls all around that you can climb on the top of.
Wow.
And it's famous for living chess match with living pieces, which is like a medieval reenactment that they do every 2 years, 3-hour show, absolutely spectacular, with historical origins of from 1452, and the mayor who wanted, to share the bloodshed with the typical duel in those days to decide who got his daughter's hand in marriage, his very beautiful daughter, decided that they would battle it out with their brains and have a game of chess. And that has been the tradition ever since. We have a chess board as the main square, and it's all closed to traffic. It's all lovely restaurants and bars around the edge. It's really special. And they're all medieval cities in this area. 7 of them are walled. So it's really, really lovely. And the backdrop, we've got the Dolomites, the foot of the Dolomites and the hills. So
wow.
It's a lovely, lovely area that I'm in. And it does feel that I'm sort of living the fairy tale life that, sort of pinch yourself occasionally. No, it's really nice. It's really nice. So, yeah, so my background is in training. And then 5 years ago, I'd got to a stage, I'd been working for the same company for a while, had a lot of I was there every day, basically, lovely company. And I had a lot of one-on-ones with managers. And I was discovering that I really wanted to help them with other things. Like, one-on-one, people bring their issues to the table, their challenges. And I really wanted to help them, but I just didn't have the tools. I didn't have the know-how and the skills to really be able to help them. And that was when I was starting to think, I'd like to retrain as a professional coach. And that was what I was telling everybody. I want to be a professional coach. And obviously the universe was listening. One day I got offered a job, basically from the local business school, and they paid me to train up as a professional coach, and they paid me to write a book about coaching and neuroscience. So that was the start of my coaching journey, and I discovered my passion. I discovered really what I was supposed to be doing all along, and I absolutely love it. Since then, I've done other courses and certifications, and I got board certified as a coach with ICF, and then I trained up as a mindfulness teacher, first of all, and then also NLP and other certifications, courses. But mostly what I'm helping people with is with brain-based coaching, the neuroscience, because I'm big neuroscience nerd, the mindfulness coaching, and very much everything to do with energy and vibration and law of attraction.
Something, isn't it? We are what we think, as Marcus Aurelius would say. We put the stuff into our minds. And well, this particular program that I got through the radio station was actually religious based, because I had a real deep wanting to understand, this people have these faith-based things, and we want to understand where we come from and where we're going when we die. And we all have that same kind of like, what is this whole big meaning of it? So studying it and trying to get into it. And I've studied a lot of Marcus Aurelius and all kinds of Nietzsche and different philosophers over the years. And the back and forth and the conversations I have with people now about, even the textures himself. I don't know if you're familiar with Jordan Peterson at all, but he writes a lot about the philosophy.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Yes.
The Bible and his so kind of on his track of thinking of that, it's a better way to live. There's all kinds of things written there about how we can understand the world and a better life and a better lifestyle, whatever your faith might be and how you find God. If you're not trying to go down that path, you're probably struggling and having a hard life. because if we reach for the good in life and do better and help people and do good things, we have a better life. And I think that's what the Bible and God is trying to get across to people. There's a better way to do things. So when it comes to faith, how do you see faith and religion and the politics of it all, and when in your thinking structure, when you start thinking about the philosophies of it all?
It's a very loaded question, isn't it? I mean,
yes.
living in a Catholic country with the Vatican here and the Pope, I mean, it was one of those things that when in the past that I discovered was a bit of a taboo subject, that it was best not discussed, anything to do with religion, because people have strong opinions. And I think it was about 7 years ago that I started my spiritual journey. And I came to the conclusion that it's all the same thing. We're just putting different labels on it. But really what we're talking about is the same thing. That infinite intelligence, source energy, universe, God, whatever label or name you feel most comfortable with, that resonates most with you. But I discovered that I grew up as a Protestant and moved here, and actually of bringing my children up as Catholics. But I realized that for me, what works best is spirituality, and I do have a really strong basis of my life in spirituality. I would say that, like, infinite trust in the universe.
So was there ever a moment, one time, I don't know if you know the game show Family Feud. I don't know if you've ever seen that over the years over there.
No, I don't think it made it to the Italian.
Well, there's a fella who hosts the show. He's a comedian, a famous comedian. He was telling his story of faith, and he shocked me when we were talking in this interview. He said that well, I'm in a car. He became a real famous comedian all over the world. He says, I'm in my car and I'm saying to God, I got to figure out, I've always wanted to do this, and it's always out of my hands. I can't do it. So he gets out of the car. He says, I'm done. I don't, this life sucks and I don't want nothing to do with it. So he goes and he calls his answering machine one last time. And there's a note on there that says, come to the other side of America, to Detroit. We got a show for you. So he gets back in his car and he starts bawling because he says, I've got $20 to my name. I finally get a break and there's no way for me to get there. And he's cursing at God, and he's saying, I just said a prayer and asked you for something. Instead, you just make fun of me by putting me in a situation that I can't even handle it. So, but his thoughts are like, this conversation is going on between him and God and faith, and how does this work? And he gets out and he goes and he calls again. He said, well, maybe the call was for another date. It's not for next week. And I have a chance to put some money together and get there. And he says, nope, sure enough, it's coming up in this weekend and I can't get there. But there's another beep. And he says, it's a call from another comedy place that says, if you call and get here in the next 3 hours, we got a show for you. You can do it. You make $150. He says, wow, what am I going to do? He gets back to his car. He says, I got $10. I can't even get 3 hours across the city. So he gets down on his knees. He's mad. He's yelling at God and he's crying. And he says, next thing he looks down and there's $50 sitting in the water beside him. He picks it up. He puts the gas in his car. He goes over to this place, to make a long story short of the whole thing. And he does the show, kills it, makes $150. The guy says, stay another night, makes another $150. It's $300 for a ticket across the country to go to this big show that he gets. He gets there, kills it, and they give him a job, and he becomes one of the most famous comedians in the world, all from asking for some prayer. And so these kind of stories, I hear them and I'm like, wow, there's what's that mean? There's something big in the universe and it touches people. And
these stories don't surprise me at all anymore. And I've got evidence of them in my own life as well. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, so what's something that you've come across in a prayer or something and you're like, wow, that amazed me?
That is the power of marrying intention with attention and an elevated emotion, really. And then if you add to the mix also inspired action, like action that comes to you with that strong sense of inspiration, maybe while you're doing a meditation or coming out of a meditation. So it's coming from the subconscious mind, it's coming from universal intelligence and not from, the our narrow conscious mind,
from something bigger, something outside of ourselves,
something
right?
much bigger. Yeah, that's a powerful combination. It really is. So I have my book here, where never far away, where I write down my intentions. I think there is something extremely powerful in writing things down, not just expressing it verbally and thinking it, but actually the power of the written word, and rereading that then. And most importantly, writing down like detailed descriptions of what you want, of, that clarity, getting crystal clear on exactly what you want, and training your mind to be thinking more about that rather than your fears, or your doubts, or your worst case scenario, or the absence of your desire, which is what most people do, right? They express an intention, a desire, but then like, okay, where is it?
Yeah. Why is it here?
Yeah. Why is it not manifested? So they're spending more time actually thinking and aligning with the vibration of the absence of their desire. So, having that clear intention and writing down not just what you want to happen, but also the emotions, because that's the powerful bit, how you want to feel, and writing down that detailed description, and then combining that, really, meditating on that, keeping that in your mind, thinking about it as a done deal, as, carrying about your day with that sense of gratitude almost in advance, because you've expressed your desires on a vibrational level. It's there. It's there. And there's nothing stopping you from feeling the emotions of having whatever it is you want, or being whoever you want now. Well, right? There is nothing.
I think you need to do that every day, right? How do you start your day? So like for me, well, you've seen how I start my day. I go out and I chase the sunrise. Actually, is one of my ways. I started sharing it with people online, but I chase the sunrise and I do a Marcus Aurelius quote. And then I come back to my office and I have this bunch of plants on a ledge back here. And each one of the plants is somebody I'm thinking about or want to help in my life. And so it's like a prayer thing for me. It's like, have I worked on this person, or what have I done that's made our relationship better? So I do that. And then I have my prayers that I say, because I work in a religious station. And I think the people that are listening are looking for God and the conversation. So I ask God to make sure that whatever words I say are, spiritual and not misleading in any way, and help. And that's how I start my day. And I think if you fill your mind with good stuff and good intentions, you're off to a better track than if you get up thinking, oh, how am I going to pay the mortgage today? Or what am I going to, this car kind of sucks. I'd like to have a new one with a fancy window, or I'd like to, all the things you start filling your mind with, and you start doing that. And what, where your mind goes, that's where your feelings go. You get sort of distracted and hurtful. And so fill your mind with good stuff, as Marcus Aurelius would say, is my intention. How do you do it to start your day?
Amen. I think that's beautiful. I love how you start your day. That is so true. So spot on. Absolutely. Yeah. No, how you start your day is really, really important. I did a live training in my free community on Facebook about that on Saturday, actually. About how to start your three fantastic ways to start your day with a high vibe, because that is so important. There are so many people that are starting their day and their first thought is a fear-based thought, and they're thinking maybe about what they have to do that day that they don't want to be doing, or the problems or something that happened the day before. And so starting that day and taking control of your mind, your energy, your vibration, right from the word go, from the moment you open your eyes, is really powerful. So I trained my mind. The first thought is thank you, literally, right? Because nothing's given, right? I opened 2 gifts this morning, my eyes, it's a new day, and I start with gratitude. I just like immediately will switch to focusing on the things that I'm grateful for in my life, which I'm lucky that I have lots. And if I see that I am not feeling good, right? Because that's the one thing I would say that can potentially lower my vibration, is not feeling physically good. And I see that there's like that resistant thought, those, the negative thoughts are sort of there knocking at the door of your mind. I would go straight into meditating, because, it's easier for me to just focus on my breathing rather than resist, the thoughts. But otherwise I would set, I would be thinking thoughts of gratitude to start with, maybe also like deliberately repeating my affirmations. Sometimes I'll do that. Set a mindful intention for the day. I find that extremely powerful, because it kind of sits there and stays in your subconscious mind and shapes your day behind the scenes, so to speak. Like, I don't know. I mean, they can vary a lot. Things like, today, I want to be fully present with everyone I speak to. I want to give my best self with everyone I meet. Today, I want to be the most loving version of myself. Or sometimes it's today, I'm going to get stuff done and I'm going to be super productive. So, it depends on the day.
But all those are positive things, right?
All those are positive things. Exactly. You're training your mind to be staying focused on the positive. And something I've discovered to be extremely powerful to do while I'm lying there in bed before I get up, is to mentally rehearse my day with the best case scenario in mind. Like, okay, within the realistic borders of what this day entails and what my commitments are work-wise, or what I'm going to be doing more or less at the weekend, what could make it really magical? What could really make this day amazing? What's like the best things that could happen? I mean, obviously, you're not going to be imagining, oh, let's just win the lottery or something, like, apart from the fact I don't ever buy a ticket. So, an element of realism, but always the best case scenario within that. And my gosh, sometimes even my best case scenario is surpassed. And that's what blows me away.
Yeah, it's just like training for anything, right? You train to be a runner, you have to get prepared. You have to practice each day, have the right equipment, go out. So if you want to have a good life, you have to train for a good life. You have to be prepared and get yourself in that right frame of mind.
I've worked a lot on training my mind. I really have. Then, like, I get up. I admittedly, I need my coffee in the morning. I really do. I have the habit. Then
it's always handy. Always got.
I love my morning coffee. I know there's people that say coffee's not good for us, but the neuroscientist I follow drinks coffee, so I feel I can drink coffee. I'll go immediately outside. And this is something I do even in the depth of winter. I like put my coat and, hat on over my pajamas and go straight outside on the patio to drink my coffee, because I love that early morning sun, or at least daylight. Even if it's cloudy, I'll still do it. Even if it's raining, I'll go outside on the patio to drink my coffee. And then, like, I read something inspirational, usually. 5 or 10 minutes, I'll read something inspirational. Or if I sometimes I'll meditate. I mean, I don't actually have, after the morning daylight, a fixed morning routine. It varies. Some mornings I wake up, I have loads of energy and I'll go for a run. I live in the countryside. Other mornings I prefer to read. Some mornings I'll do a meditation. So yeah, but it does set me up for the day. I really see.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You have your website you have to take care of, your grounded living and your coaching and all your different. So you have to build your lessons, I guess, that you give out and stuff, and that you work
Yes.
with
So
people.
after that, after I've seen my kids off to school, then yeah, settle down to work. And a lot of it is relationship building with people in my community, serving people in my community, serving my clients. The first thought is always my clients. They're my number one priority. And yeah, so after for the rest of the day and until I have my children again, it's work, it's grounded living.
That's true. And people can
Although
find your
I-
website just by going to, so tell them your website name.
Grounded living.
Just Grounded Living, that's it. They just go type in Grounded Living and they end up
It's
there.
grounded-living.com.
Okay.
Grounded-living.com. And the latest program that I've launched is Grounded Living Academy. And that's very excited about this because it's a recent launch. It's a group coaching program, an online course, and private support community with lifelong access without the monthly membership fee. So,
Oh, that's awesome. That's
yes.
great that you, I love talking to people that are trying to do things that'll lift people up and support them and put them in a better state of mind. I have a friend in Bermuda, a doctor friend. She's always doing stuff like this, and she's big onto the neuroscience of it too. And now she's in also into the heart, how, you know, it's connected, you know, even in heart transplants, they're finding memory and all kinds of things. And the science behind it all is amazing. And so
cellular memory. Yeah.
It's incredible that the different ways that we're put together, that we're such incredible species that I guess heaven, God has created. That's we have no idea the potential we have. Like if you go to even simple scriptures, like you know, you've probably heard the old scriptures, say to this mountain, move, and it'll move out of your way. And I always say, if you just think about that in simpler terms, you know, obviously you think, oh, how am I going to move a mountain, whatever, with faith, whatever. But if you get up in the morning and there's a mountain on the other side of wherever, and you see it, if you want to go to that mountain, all you got to do is each day move a little bit towards it. And before you know it, the mountain's right where you are. So you can move a mountain just with your own intention in doing stuff. So all the words are there, all the stuff is there, and people can do anything if they just start moving towards it. And each day I practice guitar, I do art. As you can see in my office, I have art, I have music, I do a little bit of everything. I'm always working on something.
Yeah, I was admiring the beautiful horses in the background, the lovely sketch. It's lovely.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So, but if you want to do something with your life, just move towards it. Something you enjoy, think about it, and stop thinking about the things you can't do, and think, well, what can I do? What incrementally can I do each day to get closer to where I want to be? And that's all you got to do.
Totally true. If you're focusing on the problems and the obstacles, that's what you're going to see more of. That's what you're going to attract more of.
And you can't change them anyway by thinking about them.
No.
All you can do is be a little bit more upset and worried and stressed, and it's not going to help you any.
No, it's not.
Put it aside. If it's not doing anything for you, move on.
Train your mind to stay focused on solutions and keep taking that consistent action, moving a little bit closer towards your dream every single day, showing up. It's all just about, like, after having spent years and years in the past of setting a whole list, I still have them actually, whole list of New Year's resolutions, which were practically the same every year after year, as I'm sure most people's are. I realized I needed to kind of simplify things. So last year's New Year's resolution was to find my voice. And that was when I launched my YouTube channel and started doing videos, which actually I had a huge mental block about and was terrified of doing. And this year's was simply show up and serve. As I said, I run a free community on Facebook for high achievers who want to stay grounded and master their focus, stay focused on what matters, and increase their energy, raise their vibration. So
that's awesome. Well, that kind of reminds me, there was my doctor friend, she had sent me a fella talking about that, and he was saying we all put on these this idea of what we want in the future. We say, oh, we want to be, lose a lot of weight. So by August, I want to have lost 30 pounds, or by this time, I want to be this much richer, or whatever. Instead of thinking about the intention of why do I want that thing? What do I want to be like when I lose that weight? Or what do I want to be like when I've gained that one? And just start being that person. And each day working on being the person you're trying to be by getting those things. And if you do that, those things happen naturally. They just sort of fall into place. So
that is so true. It's all about the identity shift, isn't it? I wrote a book about habit change and habit formation, which unfortunately is not quite finished. And that's one of the most powerful ways to change a habit, is not to set the goal. For example, I want to run a marathon, right? Some, people will set that New Year's resolution. I want to run a marathon this year. But to make that identity shift and say, I'm a runner. What does a runner do? They run every day, or nearly every day, maybe every other day. So I run. So, and you start little by little with the habit, because of the identity shift. Or not that I want to write a bestseller this year, but I'm a writer. What do writers do? They write consistently. It's not every day, at least every week. So I practice writing, and practice makes perfect.
There was one of the lines from the, we were talking about Jordan Peterson earlier, and I had read his book, The 12 Rules of Life, or whatever it was. And then one of the lines in there was stand up straight with your shoulders back and clean your room up. And I thought, what a great line. If you can get up in the morning and just start with the simplest part of your life and start cleaning that up, and then move outwards from there. And that's where people need to start.
Well, Abraham says the same. It's like, just takes action. I mean, it's the best way to stop worrying, is to just do something, take action. Like, even if it's as simple as cleaning out a cupboard, you're taking action, you're creating that forward momentum. The problem is when we're stagnating and not doing anything and just stuck in our thoughts and worrying, in a worry loop. So, yeah. That's
true. Denzel Washington had done a speech one time for a university. He was talking about failing. He says, it's okay to fail. And I thought, wow, that's what a speech to have. Tell these kids it's okay to fail. And then you listen to it, and he was talking about it's only in failure that we find our, accomplishments. Because unless you're out there trying something, nothing ever happens. If you quit, there's nothing on the other side of quitting. On the other side of failure, there's all kinds of success. So I thought, wow, what a great way to think about it. Get out there. It's okay to fail. Go do it.
Fail early, fail fast,
fail early, fail big.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can say that I've attempted lots of different things that have not turned out the way they want. Failure is part of the path to success, because it's only when you fail at things that you start something different. And it's always a learning curve. It's that failure is only a failure if you fail to learn from it. And if you don't get any kind of lesson for it, or you just quit permanently, then yeah. I love the quote by Winston Churchill, our Prime Minister during the Second World War. Success is going from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. And that is so often the case. I mean, I really don't know anybody who's achieved great success that hasn't failed along the way. So
no, I don't think it's possible, is it?
Yes, no, it's not. And yet, what is the number one biggest fear of a lot of people? Failure, along with like public humiliation. But that's the brain's social brain hardwiring. So social brain will equate any kind of public humiliation, embarrassment, or social rejection with immediate death. So,
Marcus Aurelius talked about that. He said that it's not when you can insult me, you can say bad things to me, and that's fine, but it's how I perceive them and accept them in my brain, and how I think about what you said to me is what matters. What you say really doesn't matter, only how I think about it. So change the way you think about conversation, and you can handle anything.
I am a big fan of Marcus Aurelius, and I have one of his quotes in the program that I did on resilience and change, because I mean, he was way before Viktor Frankl. He was the one who really brought to the public the concept of reframing, cognitive reframing. It's nothing has any intrinsic meaning per se. It's only the meaning that we give to something, right? So when you change the meaning of the event or the situation and you find a more empowering meaning, you change the emotional reaction. And it's so like powerful and simple, and yet so many people don't do it because our brain doesn't work that way. We have to train our brain to start doing it. We have to train our brain to that, you know, when things don't go away, when problems happen, when shit hits the fan and things are not working out for us, to, you know, challenge ourselves to look for that seed of opportunity, challenge ourselves to look for, you know, what's good about this? I mean, even if I don't have the full picture right now, as Steve Jobs says, you can only join the dots looking backwards, right? What if, like, in the future, I'm going to look back on this and think, my God, this was a blessing in disguise, or my God, what an opportunity was presented to me with this problem, right? And the company, local company, Baxi, that I used to work in, and I used to do the training in the R&D department. And as soon as you walk in the door of the research and development unit, there's a lovely big sign on the wall that says, view every problem as an opportunity for growth. View every problem as an opportunity for growth, which
so true.
It's changed your interpretation of an event, and you find that empowering meaning, and you change the emotional response.
Well, yeah, what's that famous saying? In every disaster lies opportunity. So somebody who's going into work every day, and you know, you have a boss who's like really mean or arrogant or talks down at you. Well, they're not going home at night thinking, what's the best way I can talk down to this person, and retraining themselves and getting better at it. So if you start training yourself to listen to their insults and listen to their complaints, and then start programming yourself to understand how to respond better, you overtake them in so little time that it's unbelievable, that they can no longer handle a conversation with you because they're not training themselves. They're just doing something, you know, with no sense of purpose at all, other than just to be spontaneously rude or ignorant or whatever the word might be. But you can train yourself to overtake those people, and it's amazing what you can do with a little conversation just by tweaking, saying something in a certain way, and they're like, they don't know how to respond because you've said something back. It's like, oh, wait a minute, and then it sort of stops them. So you can train yourself to put yourself in a better situation through these things each day by thinking about it as a chance to be a better orator. You
really, really can. I mean, what's the famous saying again? Viktor Frankl, you know, between stimulus and response, there is a space, and in that space lies your power to choose a better response, right? You know, we normally, something happens, we react.
Yep. That's the worst time. Never react.
Especially if somebody's not practiced mindfulness ever in their life or never meditated. There's like, something happens, immediate reaction, usually anger, or the classic one, you know, someone overtaking you or cutting you off at a junction. But, you know, that immediate reaction, instead, practicing mindfulness, you can really like make the most of that space and choose a better response in that situation. I mean, what we're talking about in brain terms here is your veto power, right? That you actually have a window of opportunity in brain terms of 0.3 seconds. to choose a better response, which seems very little, but in brain terms, that's actually a long time, 0.3 seconds. But the part of your brain that you need to train in order to have stronger impulse control and be able to respond better in situations and not be so reactive is this part of your brain behind your temples. It's the ventral lateral prefrontal cortex. And mindfulness training, meditating, practicing mindfulness will strengthen the neurons in this part of your brain. So
awesome.
You find that you're not so reactive, right? There's a lot of people going through their day in a very reactive state.
Yeah, it's so true. We need to all just take a minute to pause, I guess. Train ourselves to have a better thought process for life, and that life is, it's not CNN and Fox News and all the bad stuff you hear on TV. Life is actually pretty good. And there's all kinds of opportunities around you. I heard a coach talking one time about everything, winning a game or losing the game is the inches are right there. They're, if you just reach that little bit farther or a little bit more, it's always right there around you. So take the time to stretch a little more and think a little more. And it can't hurt you. It can only help.
I like that. Exactly. Life is what you make it at the end of the day. We're given this like blank canvas. Well, not everybody's is blank to start with, but we're given some kind of canvas and some paints, and so we make our mural. But you do when you really get one shot at it. And I think that was the first quote I ever learned when I was a child or a teenager, that life is not a dress rehearsal. So.
Oh, that's true. We're in that lineup, and we don't know where we are in the line when it's all over. So yeah, exactly. Live as if you're next in line, type of thing.
Well, live every day like it's your last. And yeah, just there's something so powerful about showing up and doing what you're put here to do, right? Admittedly, I'm saying that from a kind of privileged position of having found my passion, my purpose. And admittedly, not everybody has that strong sense of passion and purpose, but it doesn't need to be some great grandiose dream or helping so many people. There's something incredibly noble and wonderful in the purpose of bringing up a happy child, or looking after the planet, or just being a good person and loving the people you're around.
Favorite scriptures that I ever read was God in the Bible. It says that without love, he says, you can move a mountain, you can have all the money in the world, you can be the greatest philosopher, the greatest helping person, you can do everything perfect, but if you don't have love, you don't have anything. And I thought, wow, that's kind of a pretty deep scripture, that the only thing that matters is having love in your life. So helping people, loving people, and doing kind things. And I have political shows, and I work with a lot of politicians and people all the time. But what I always tell them is if we start to treat each other like family and be kind to each other, when you're working in your office, if I call you up and say, what's going on? We're working on an issue as if it's two brothers or a brother and sister. That's a way better way than if I say, oh, look at what John did in politics today. He sucked. He did this wrong or did that wrong. But if we're family, we're all working on a process to make it work together. And I think that's what God intended. The whole universe and the whole thing was to be good and in love.
You're right. I believe you're right. We are all connected, like on a quantum level, on a spiritual level, we are all connected. There's no doubt about that. There's a wonderful TED Talk, if anybody wants to watch it, called Stroke of Insight by Jill Bolt, a neuroscientist who describes exactly what was happening while she was having a stroke in her brain. And interestingly, the stroke was in the left side. And it's the left hemisphere that generates that sense of separation, that illusion of separation. Our right hemisphere is the hemisphere that's connected to the universe, to nature, to universal intelligence, to each other, right? To our body, Our left hemisphere is not connected to our body like our right hemisphere is. And this is so important right now because all of the digital technology, the world that we're living in nowadays is so digital, and technology is moving so fast that the new generations are growing up, you know, with their phone in their hands and in front of a screen. But all of that is very much developing the left hemisphere. But the left hemisphere should never be the boss. It's a dangerous world if the left hemisphere is the boss, right?
It's an interesting way to look at it. I like that. Yeah. That's amazing.
Well, it actually comes from this book, which funnily enough, I've just got next to me, but it's so big. Sometimes I use it to weigh it down. It's a hefty read. I read it on the computer, actually, but I bought a paperback copy. The Mastering is a Mystery. Very, very a fantastic book about the two hemispheres. The Divided Brain in the Making of the Western World by Ian McGilchrist. Very, very intelligent man. But yeah, there's something so powerful about, and in fact, one of the things that I work on with people is developing and strengthening the circuits in the right hemisphere, because that's the risk, especially for the future generations. But all of our social brain, all of our empathy circuits, all of our sense of connection with each other, and the ability to read nonverbal language, all of the ability to read implicit, subtle body language, which we're also missing now because we only look at each other through a little screen and don't see the rest of the body language. But that sense of connection, that sense of wholeness, the holistic side, it's all the right hemisphere. So developing that is very important. We are all connected, and losing completely, because we don't need it, the sense of competition. There isn't really any competition. We've all got our unique take on things. We are all different, and coming at it with a sense of companionship and solidarity and helping each other, loving each other. When you approach any situation or any person with compassion, it's a totally different vibe. I think it's the best way. It's a totally different energy, right? You approach it differently, you behave differently, you speak differently, you react differently. I do that a lot because I'm speaking to and contacting a lot of strangers each day, and that can get extremely hard and alienating, and it's not always easy. But when you come from a place of compassion and wanting to help them, and not everybody needs your help. Not everybody needs your help at all. Not everybody wants your help. But nonetheless, coming at it from a place of compassion really helps, I think.
That's incredible. Well, I think what you're doing is great. And people like you are helping change the world, make it just a little better, it's because it's all comes from the heart. And I think that's why I'm studying the Sermon on the Mount lately. And I was thinking about, the whole turn the other cheek thing and Jesus and stuff. And I thought, wow, that's taking it to a whole different level. But it really, isn't that what we're all talking about with mindfulness and thoughts, and stop being offended by everything everybody says all the time and start thinking in a more realistic, like, how can I help? If my brother says I got a stupid idea I want to sell. Yeah. If like, imagine the guy who started Pet Rocks. I don't know if you remember the story of Pet Rocks in a Box. He sold rocks in a box, sold millions of them.
Yes, I do.
So can you imagine he's in his house and he's saying, I'm going to make this business, Pet Rocks. Now I could have said, you're an idiot. Nobody's going to buy a pet rock. Or I could say, I can give you a hand. How do I wrap the boxes? Or this is what you can do. So we can help people with their ideas and their what they want to do, or we can knock them down and tell them everything that's wrong with it. Those are the choices we have each time. And we don't know what's good or bad. It's like Shakespeare said, nothing's good or bad unless we think it's so. Shakespeare said.
Exactly. So many things have succeeded, which you would never have thought,
No.
and have become multi-million-dollar empires. So you do never know, and it's just a question, different approach, isn't it,
Mhm.
to people and to life. But living from the heart. I've actually got a tattoo. Admittedly, you can't see any of them at the moment. I have 19 tattoos. And the smallest one is this one, which is a little dash and a heart here.
Okay.
And that comes from a leadership training that I did 5 years ago, an intensive one. There's a wonderful poem called The Dash by Linda Ellison. I can't remember the name of the poet, but that poem really struck me and touched me, and then I had a heart put on top of the dash, and because the dash is basically what's on your tombstone between your date of birth and your date of death, right? As morbid as that sounds. And the thing is, it's symbolic, that dash, because that represents your life. Right, that's your time on planet Earth, that dash. But you just don't know how long that dash is going to be. For some people, it's long. For some people, it's not so long. But if you can remember to live every day from the heart, and that's like my permanent reminder, to live every day of that dash from the heart, then you can't go wrong, in my opinion.
Wow. Now that's the first time I've heard a tattoo described in a way that I thought was amazing. My son has a lot of tattoos, and he's trying to convince me that I need a tattoo. I said, well, when I'd like to put 2 wolves on, a dark one and a white one, because that's the way I feel about life, like the old Indian proverb, whichever one you feed, that's how you're going to do in your life. But that was an amazing description of a tattoo. That's incredible. What a thing to look down on and have that thought in your mind. That's
Exactly.
something else.
It's right there near my wrist. But yeah, all my tattoos have a powerful meaning. I think you got to be convinced before you put permanent ink on your skin, right?
Sure. Yeah. And then I'm always like, well, what if it's wrong? Those negative thoughts come in. What if I don't like it after it's done? It's like, I guess it takes a little courage too.
Yeah, exactly. But they're part of my identity, and I wouldn't like to not have them. So they're part of who I am. I feel they're integral to the meaning of who I am.
Well, you're definitely unique and on a great journey. And I wish I had all day to talk to you. Unfortunately, I got another program coming up there soon, but I can't wait for this to air for people to hear it. And on the radio, it's another one of those ones that get people inspired. And for sure, they should go to your website and hear your stuff. And I encourage people, go and listen. It's great stuff.
Yeah, I mean, anybody who's listening is welcome to join Grounded Living, my Facebook community, or contact me directly. I'm on YouTube, I'm on Facebook, and there's my website, so grounded-living.com.
That's awesome. And we'll have to have more talks about this again sometime, because I'd love to have on again for the radio show. It'd be great. Well, thank you, Tracy, for taking some time to talk with me today. It's awesome.
It's been a joy. I loved it. I love talking to you, and thank you for having me.
Thank you. You have a great day. Thanks again.
I'm just sitting here. I got time.